laden hands. Life is good.
It's early morning at Rust Bros, and Mike's reaching the end of a long overnight drive.
Look, a target.
After a week away on a rock blasting job.
What are you doing?
Just got back from Tumbler, man.
Why?
Because there's so much friggin' work. I've been gone a lot due to my other business, rock scaling. We have a major contract with CN. I've ended up going back to work full time. I can't hire scalers. My foreman's down. Who am I gonna put up there in charge? Some green guy with 3 months experience? I don't need anybody killed. We take mountains, we turn them into gravel piles. People's lives depend on the job we do. And I still got the shop running. Can't be in two places at once that are 1,200 kilometers apart. I'm working harder now than I did when I was 40.
I thought you sold a field of dreams, Mike, could retire and mellow out a little bit and enjoy life.
Abe, it's not about the money, it's about the obligation.
Obligation. The worst word in the English dictionary.
Yes, I know.
He says he's gonna retire. Instead he ends up with 2 jobs. I don't know how long Mike's gonna be able to go on like this. He's not a spring chicken anymore.
Anyway, I got to do.
Well, you know, I'm here to give you a hand if you want, Mike.
Appreciate it. I gotta have a shower and find some clean clothes. Here, this is a special build.
Mike, they're all special builds.
That's right.
After a shower and shave,
Just stand back.
Mike is unveiling his latest project to his crew.
Ooh, nice. Look at that.
Today, gentlemen, we have for your viewing pleasure a partially restored, rust-free 1969 Roadrunner convertible. Big block, 4-speed, super rare. I mean, basically, this year, I'd like to finish the builds that mean the most to me. This thing's cool. I've always wanted a Mopar ragtop. This is the one. It's bucket list time. This car has already had 4 new frame rails, new floors, new trunk.
Who did it?
A buddy of mine,
Oh,
a
okay.
Mopar freak.
Did he have parts to fit everything when he welded it together?
You tell me, Blair.
Wow, that's not bad.
I mean, the point is, there's no rust. I mean, after 4 years, guys, of starting with rusty pieces, we're 400 hours ahead.
Okay, I mean, hey, it looks promising, but we have no way of knowing.
Let me guess. All original suspension, all original brakes.
No,
all-
4-wheel disc brakes, big ones.
Do we have a drivetrain for this car?
I'm working on it. Hey, what if this is wrong? What if that is wrong?
Pre-dented.
Those are original doors. That's why.
I believe it.
Everybody's jumping on the negativity bandwagon.
Guaranteed that the bodywork on it is crooked.
There's zero body work. Hey, shut up. I know that car is gonna be perfect. They can kiss my ass. Anyway,
I have brought my glasses.
okay, Ave, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have lost my temper.
It's all right.
I am stretched as thin as I've ever been. I'm fed up with negativity. So what can I say? I lost it.
What's the budget?
100 grand.
Oh,
You could do it.
that's all right.
Yes, this could be the last convertible I build. Right now, I have more money than I have time. I want to lay some rubber. I mean, otherwise, what did I spend 40 years of my life doing?
What's your vision on this, Mike? What is the outside color?
Oh, like that.
What, rust?
Nope.
What, yellow?
Yep.
Why
Furious
do you
yellow.
paint yellow?
Because it's the only impact color that I haven't done yet. Stout hood,
Okay.
black roof.
Black accent, that
Yes,
helps.
black and yellow. This thing is gonna look sick. Hey, we're gonna call it.
Banana hammock.
Anyway, I've got to go back to my job for 2 weeks. Things are just hair straight back, but they know what the plan is. It's time for them to step up to the plate. We have a plan, a vision, a dream. Let's bring it to fruition, boys. Under budget and ahead of schedule for once.
Right.
Tell me where we're going.
Getting pretty close here. Right here.
Right here?
Yeah.
2 hours later in Vernon, BC,
What are we doing here?
I found something I had to have.
It's got 4 wheels, probably.
Yeah. Not very big ones.
Avery has picked up his stepson Jacob to check out their first potential project of the year.
Passion project or something you think you make money off of?
It's both. This here, I think, is going to be a fairly easy project if I don't let myself get out of control on this thing. Last year, I took too complicated of builds on. I need an easy win this year. I need to make some money. I need to put my shop back on the map. Dell! We're going over to see my buddy Dell.
Sorry, we're closed.
He's an interesting individual on a good day.
Good to see you guys. Come on in. Head right on in.
Perfect. Well, where is this thing? Oh. This is an Austin Mini, right?
Yes. 74. It's a real British car.
It's got the Union Jack on it.
That's awesome. Didn't you used to own a few of these things?
You know what? I've had these for years. I remember the first Mini I seen. It looked like a little pregnant roller skate coming down the road. And you know what? I had to have one of these cars. I was bitten by the bug.
Loved around the world and considered one of the most iconic cars ever built, the Austin Mini was produced by the British Motor Corporation from 1959 to 2000. Although known for its compact size and fuel efficiency, the Mini's punchy performance and agile handling pushed it to a shocking victory at the Monte Carlo Rally in 1964, proving a small package could still deliver big power.
The gentleman that did the build on this spent $14,000 on the engine and training.
It's got a big header on it, eh? Somebody spent big money on this motor. It's got the bigger dual carburetors on it. It's got a good exhaust system on it. Like, this motor will make some power.
I want to see what it looks like in the daylight. See the real blemishes.
Well, there's one thing about it. It's easy pushing.
Nice shifter. Look at that. So what, you say you fit in these things, Dave?
Well, of course I do.
I don't know if I got a shoehorn that big.
Dal.
This thing is awesome. Look at these itty-bitty pedals.
This car looks like it's in pretty good shape. Seems like it's all here, and it's got some good components in it.
Panic. I found the panic button. That's hilarious.
I like it a lot.
So this thing is super neat, but number one question here is, what is this thing gonna cost?
I'm gonna have to come up with 12 grand for it. I gotta be really close to that, buddy.
How about 7?
10.
Hang on. Let me get close to this panic button here.
Avery,
What?
10 grand.
No, I'll give you 9 for it. Cash.
Done.
Okay, you happy about that?
No, I'm not happy.
That's good. Okay, let's get this thing on the trailer. I bought this car for a spec car.
1, 2, 3.
Build it, sell it, make a chunk of money off it. These cars have gone up in price a pile.
Smallest thing there's ever been on this trailer.
So 9 grand for this car. Is it worth it? Hell yeah. Well, Del,
Good to
Thanks
see you,
again,
buddy.
man.
Come back when you can spend more.
Yeah, okay.
okay, rank her over.
Oh, baby.
Later that afternoon at Wildman Restorations,
Over?
Avery and Jacob are testing the Mini's big dollar motor.
For once, I finally think that I may got the better of a deal.
We got ourselves a race buggy. Does that mean we get to take this thing for a rip?
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
How much fuel's in there?
The fuel gauge says half a tank.
Hot damn. Hey, let's get out of here.
It goes pretty good. What do you think? You feel nostalgic in here or what?
Got the characteristics that I still remember. I love these cars. I don't know what it is about them, but the first thing you do is start smiling when you drive these cars.
This is awesome. I love it.
Ah!
What the hell is that? Why is it clunking? What is that? What the hell's going on? That did not sound good. Didn't sound good at all. Give it a try. Nah, nothing.
Just as everything's going down the road nice, this thing just hiccups and quits.
Was it just chewing through the gear? Was that
Well,
in
I
the
don't
shifter?
know.
Is it that in the transfer?
If this motor is pooched, this build is over. It's emptier than last year's bird's nest. The gauge says there's fuel in it, but it's empty. Pretty serious situation. The fuel gauge doesn't work.
Well, there's one good thing. We're on a hill. Okay, let's do an e-brake slide. Turn this thing around.
Need to be careful we don't have a runaway with this.
Yes! Don't leave me behind.
There's already a problem. It's starting to come unraveled already. Let's go up the hill. I'll peel it apart, put my touch to it.
Row, row, row your boat.
I just hope there ain't a whole lot more issues.
This thing runs on wind.
It goes all by itself.
We got an EV on our hands.
2.25 by 3. That's like 6 cubic meters. Let's see what we can do here.
270 kilometers north of Rust Valley in Lytton, BC.
Ooh, doesn't look like much, but this could ruin your whole day.
Mike supervising the clearing of a future construction site.
So he's gonna have to pick him up over there and bring him over here.
Yep, okay. Right now, I cannot find bodies. I've got all this work I've committed to do. I end up doing it. Okay. When I should be at home building cars. Okay, you guys ready? 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, fire. 2, 1. beautiful. Blair, what's up? I'm a bit busy.
Hey, man.
Over at the Rust Bros shop,
We're looking at color chips here. We can't get the exact code made, and there's different shades we see on the internet.
Okay, hang on.
Blair and Cassidy are struggling to nail down the color Mike chose for his Roadrunner build.
We need to get on this. We have parts that have to be sprayed.
The greeny one.
Okay.
There's a yellow, curious yellow, but the real curious yellow had a green tinge.
Normally, the client would come in and you show them in person.
What?
It's just about impossible to have someone pick out a color on the phone.
Hey, why don't you just get a pint made just so we got something to go off of?
Yeah, but we have to order paint today in time to paint inners. I don't know. I think this one's really close. I would just order it.
No, just get a pint made.
So now we have to get a bunch of samples, do some spray outs, show them to Mike by the phone, I guess, and see which one he wants to go with. You're the fearless leader. What would we do without you? Oh, my word.
Probably have to forge my signature on your paychecks.
Well, we would.
Okay, ciao.
Peel that thing off there.
Door skin o'clock.
At Wildman, it's mini disassembly time for Avery and Jacob.
Hey, what do you want to do with these? You got new ones coming, or do you want to get crafty? You want to go to Fabricland again?
No, they wouldn't even let me use the scissors in Fabricland. You know what? I've already paid too much for this car because it didn't need a whole lot done to it. It needs to be gone over and it needs a paint job. We will order a new interior for this.
Lock it in the bush.
Well, don't throw them away because there could be something off there a guy needs. I don't know what. I need to stay on budget.
Here you go.
Boy, there ain't much of that, is there? The object in the game is to be in business and make money. Take the carpet out of it.
Oh, look at it down there, eh?
Is there a dead mouse in there?
No, look at the floor.
Looks like someone didn't really properly seal these from the inside, or is getting moisture at some point.
Yeah, it could have been leaking, maybe. I don't know. Thought this was gonna be an easy build, but you know what? It's just as complicated as a big car. There's another problem, Jacob. The subframe's got the whole bottom of the car broke out. Here, you can see right through it. Like,
The whole motor's coming out.
it just aggravates me.
Well, you know it's got to be fixed.
This whole subframe is full of stress cracks, and it's literally just about broke itself free of the car. I don't think we have any choice in the matter. This car needs to go for a professional alignment to repair the subframe and the body on this car. Okay, let's go get some other pieces and parts.
Okay, seats, let's go.
20 minutes later, outside Rust Bros,
So what's the plan here?
Well, Mike, I know has some parts over here. He bought a Mini, rusted right to death. He's never gonna do nothing with it.
Is he here right now?
I don't know where he's at, but we're gonna go take a look at it.
Do a little hornswoggling?
We may just simply poach it.
That sounds like hornswoggling to me.
We'll see if he's here. You know what they say? A friend with parts is a friend indeed.
I don't see his truck.
See if that lock's actually locked.
Mike!
Michael! Mike!
No Lincoln, no Mike.
Go take a gander. It's like a bad corn maze. I laughed when he bought that car. Now I'm over here poaching parts out of it.
Hey, there's a little Mini.
There's our super duper wagon.
Okay. Watch out for Mike, huh?
It ain't like he's gonna sneak up on us, Jacob. You can hear Lincoln from about 2K away.
I can picture him saying it now.
Hey, who took the interior out of this thing?
Here.
Don't kill that seat.
Well, I'm trying not to. It's supposed to just pop out of here.
Okay, here you go. Hey, we gotta hurry up. I know you said you can't hear Lincoln, but you're half deaf, so let's go.
Looks like something might be coming. Let's get out of here.
Let's go, let's go.
Let's go, let's go. Come on.
Pack this jewel and get the hell out of here.
I'm sure I hear something coming.
Let's go, let's go.
Don't say nothing.
Let's
Mom's
go.
the word.
Mom is the word. We were never here. We could use my mom as alibi. We were eating dinner, I swear to God. I don't know why you got me involved in this.
You're just lucky.
Let's see what's been going on while I've been gone.
a few days later,
Hey! What's going on, guys? Blair, you're jumpy.
You're gonna give him a heart attack. Jesus.
Mike's just returned from his latest blasting job.
Man, that color looks sick.
And it's reunited with his Roadrunner build.
It looks like she's ready to go beep, beep, beep. It's come a long way, baby. Man, it's looking good. Good job, Cass. You bucking for a raise or what?
I am, yeah.
Okay, well, we'll see what it looks like once the clear's laid on it, Cass. Put the pressure on.
A challenge.
A challenge.
All right.
But the color's awesome.
See the inners? The inners are nice.
Yeah.
Wow. Cass and Blair have done an amazing job, and this thing is gonna be bright. The color just pops. This whole car is gonna be in your face. Looking good, guys.
Woo-hoo. We still need a roof that's not seized up.
Okay, well, let's go look. Biggest issue with this build is I don't have the Field of Dreams to fall back on, but I've got my own stash of parts for the cars that I know I'm gonna build. Look, there's 3 of them here.
Yeah, but this one is rotten. Look at this.
What's bad with it?
This is really tough.
I mean, those are fixable, but...
Oh, they're fixable, but man, they need a lot of work. Mike is driving me freaking nuts. We don't have time for this.
What about this? This is pretty solid.
That side is.
It's got a huge rust hole on the top corner.
Does it move?
Yeah.
Wow, look at that. That's the piece. Yes. They don't make them like this anymore. Blair's not happy. Boo-hoo. Suck it up.
Oh, me.
Needs one little patch. The mechanism moves freely. It's excellent. Blair, it's stuck on the bolt. You're dealing with 50-year-old parts. Like you're not gonna get pristine. Okay, he can be taught.
Okay. When do you go back?
Not soon enough, Blair. Maybe the crew's getting a little bit burnt out. Maybe they're getting a little jaded, but I don't care. I'm excited about this build.
Look at this, man.
Okay, well, I think I know somebody that can fix that. Get on her. Less talk, more rock.
So, how did you find out about the problems and everything of it cracking?
At Wildman Restorations,
It first started chafing when Jacob was pulling the carpet out. He sees some cracks on his subframe,
the Mini has returned from the welders.
and the whole front of this car's been taken apart.
But in order to fix the subframe, they had to remove its engine.
Okay, let's get this thing back on there. We just have to put the motor back in. I'm praying there's no more problems with this build.
Hey, quick question. Do you want my social security number so you can start my payroll, or how's this working?
You'd have to get a second job to pay me back for the money you owe me.
You guide the motor in. That's your job. I'll run hoist. Ready?
Chafe has been busy working for my buddy Brad over at the diesel shop. I haven't seen him much. Okay, hang on a second. Called him over for 2 reasons. Number 1, I miss working with him.
Is that how you probably bend a brake line? I'm surprised NASA hasn't contacted you yet to build for him, you know? That truck.
Get on the hoist.
Yeah.
Number 2, maybe I don't miss working with him.
How's it looking?
Let it down a little bit more. The thing's on there crooked.
You lined up on my side.
Oh. This motor should go in. I have no idea what the problem is. The holes are not lining up.
What's the problem?
The motor's sitting like this, chafing.
Dad, we need to get something in here. It needs to come up the 1/4 shape. You see that? Tell me you see that.
That's not the problem.
What's the problem?
I don't know. I could look underneath and see where it's catching on.
I did see the problem. I'll just let you do it. You're way smarter than I am.
My dad and I haven't worked together in a while because we honestly can't work together very well.
I'll lift it back up.
He still wants nothing to do with my ideas,
That's good.
and it drives me up the wall.
And let's measure this side here and see where it sits. It's right out to lunch, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. This subframe bent out like this, and it wasn't brought back in. This subframe, it wasn't welded correctly. We just took it for granted that it was square. It is not square.
What if you weld a piece of metal to there?
Maybe.
That would be enough to get it straight, though, Dad. Probably should use this for a guide.
Yes, you're right.
Chafin wants to add a metal plate to raise one side of the motor and hopefully even out the fit.
Chafe is making suggestions. I don't think much of this idea, but we'll give it a shot. Okay, let this back down. That's good.
Oh, wow. That goes in there nice. Dad, it fits so much nicer, eh?
Yeah, I have a hard time believing it fit that good.
Talk to me, Goose.
Okay, that's good.
Right, look at that.
That's the whole problem the whole time. That plate we put in there puts everything closer.
Boom!
You know what? This thing, it fits like a glove.
All right, hey. Now you're gonna admit to something.
What's that?
Am I kind of right?
Yeah, you're right. Okay, let's continue on.
Avery admits that I'm right? Boom!
Are you happy?
Happier than you know. I'm super proud of Chafin. It's time, I think, to start taking him a little bit more serious.
What are you doing?
Looking through your ears.
Anything in there?
I can see the guy riding a bicycle in there.
At Rust Bros, the Roadrunner has a fresh new look.
Let's drag it over.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
And Mike's come home just in time to install the engine he ordered for it.
I got 20 grand into this motor.
And it's freaking awesome.
A brand new 426 cubic inch V8.
I just want to get my hands on the clutch pads. I got gloves here. You want them? Mike is spending a lot of time doing rock work.
Ooh.
It means things here are pretty peaceful.
Blair, have you had your exam yet?
Yeah. When he does get back here, it's a freaking gong show. Hey, wait a minute. What about our bearing?
There's no pilot bushing in there? Are you kidding me? What a pilot bushing does is center the transmission in the crankshaft of the engine. We gotta have that. We can't assemble it without it.
Oh, I know.
When you spin that thing at 6,000 RPM, you don't want anything wobbling. So it's critical.
What is this?
Blair, you got it?
There it is. Yes. All right.
That looks small. Okay, well, let's see. No, not even close.
Oh, come on, man.
You know what? You know why this ain't fitting? This is a friggin' aftermarket crank. It's not a factory Chrysler crank. I bet that's the issue, Blair.
Oh, no.
I spent a lot of money on that motor. I want to hear it fire up. But the one part we need, we don't have. We had a plan, and as usual, it failed to come to fruition. We're gonna have to phone in Lordco. Monday's a holiday.
Oh, right.
Okay, well,
Okay.
pivot. This is on hold. Now what?
Rear relief springs we can put in?
Okay, let's
All
do
right.
that.
Okay.
There's always something else to do on the build. We're gonna change directions, change focus. We're gonna start work on the front and rear suspension. Ooh. Oh. Wow, those are pretty. Every time I open up a new box of parts for the Roadrunner, just like a little kid at Christmas, except I'm playing Santa Claus and I'm getting the presents.
No directions.
Man, suck it up, princess. I mean, the rear springs, even if you don't have written instructions, there's bushings, spring hangers, and U-bolts. I think I can handle that.
You got that in right side up?
Well, yeah, it goes taper down and flat across the bottom.
Okay.
There isn't no left and right on these things.
Could be.
You see, line it up. They don't fit.
No way.
What am I missing here?
Youth and ambition?
I mean, I'm not the sharpest tool in the drawer. They're off by a little wee bit. But I know, I'm just gonna have to take a deep breath, think about it, it's gonna work out.
You want a hand there?
No. I know in the end it's gonna fit. Let's make it happen. Oh, look at this. Voila. We're back. Springs look good. We're good to go. Okay, my work here is done for the day. I have commitments.
Yes.
I'm gone for 2 weeks now. We're pulling a double shift up in Tumbler, so you guys are gonna have to put the motor in when the bushing comes. I'd really like to stay. It's just, I got no time for it. Cass and Blair, obviously they're busting their little butts. Hopefully they're up to the task. They've got to come through for me.
You know what this means? The motor's gonna go in without a single freaking scratch.
Why, because I'm not here?
Exactly.
I shall return.
Okay, let me take a look at it and see what it does.
Outside Wildman Restorations. Avery and Chafin are enjoying the Mini's reinstalled engine.
Well, the brakes were good, eh?
Yeah, I like these cars. Always have. Okay, let's put it back in there before you kill it. I need to get this thing ready. The guys from RXN Motorsports are coming over here to take a look at it. I think we're gonna get them to paint it. This Mini, I think I got most of the bugs worked out of it, but I'm not set up for doing body work. You know, I'm bringing RXN in.
Avery!
How you guys doing?
Good, busy?
I've seen some of the work they've done, and it's absolutely spectacular.
This is the project.
This is the project. It's not in too bad a shape.
You know, it takes up too much space in here, I think, guys.
Yeah. It's not a very big car, so they figure they might be able to possibly fit me in. I appreciate you guys coming to take a look at this thing. This really isn't a high-end car, but it is an iconic car.
I agree. I think it's cool.
You like them, eh?
I do. I had one back in probably 87, 88.
No.
Yeah. Love minis. Cars are getting rare, so I think it's a great project. See what we got to work with. There's definitely some sheet metal work to be done. Yeah, it's patched over here as well, so there's a few concerns. Big thing with these cars is tear it down, look at it again as we do it.
I don't want to be into this car for $3 million. It doesn't have to be an award-winning show car when it comes out. It just needs to be painted. The problem with RXN is they do absolutely top-end stuff.
We know that you want to do it more as a budget build. The only thing that we worry about is that everything that leaves the shop is like top quality.
I'm worried about my budget going out of control.
What is our budget on this car?
Probably $15,000, something like that.
15 grand?
Yeah, 15 grand!
What do you want me to do with that? For 15 grand, it's not gonna do it, but I like the car, I like the heritage. What I'm thinking, it's collaboration, car shows, social media, Wildman, RXN.
If it saves me some money, I'm happy with it.
I think it'd be good for you guys and us.
If you want to do that, I think we may have a deal.
Okay.
Okay, put her there. It's gonna be a win-win situation for both of us. He gets a little bit of promotional out of it, I get my car.
I think it's gonna be a great project.
Let's get to it, guys.
I think we're here.
Wow. We're not in Kansas.
A few hours later in Pitt Meadows, BC,
These guys are in a high-end place, man, and it kind of freaks me out a little bit.
Avery and Chafin are delivering the Mini to RXN Motorsports so bodywork can begin.
Avery, what can I do to help you, bud?
Sit back and pray.
I'm already praying for you.
RXN, they built some pretty cool stuff, but you know what? I can see this thing spiraling out of control. Lift it.
You know, I think we should stand over here more.
Move out, move out, move out.
I'm not sure about this.
I'm gonna have to keep a little bit of an eye on Chris and keep him focused. And get a point in the right direction.
Avery, no more damage, eh?
There.
Not the typical way we would do it around here.
Chris is a perfectionist.
Hey, boys, you want to come give us a hand?
Faster! I just hope that the budget doesn't go crazy on this car.
That should be good. Hey, let's take a look under the hood.
Hey, there's my pliers! Look at that. I thought he lost them.
Show me this front end.
This is a 1380.
Oh, it's stroked.
Bored out, it's not stroked.
It sounds like this thing could use a power adder.
Chris wants to get a little bit more power out of this motor. I simply wanted this Mini for a driver.
I love the 10-inch, but I'd like to actually get some 10x10s. Road race tires on there, make it really stick to the road.
These are original Mini fins. They're super rare. This is an iconic car. These tires are iconic. They should stay with the car. I'm not buying a new set of rims.
Okay, guys, get her apart. There you go. He knows what he's doing.
There you go. Chris is making a lot of suggestions of what he wants to do to this Mini. They tell me that nothing lives here other than being top-notch. Well, that's fine. I want a top-notch paint job. I don't want a total reconstruction of this car. Where's my favorite tool?
Hammer?
Yeah. I need to do whatever it takes to keep the budget on track on this vehicle.
Avery, you're an animal.
If I need to come and help, I will come and help.
Avery, you're not cutting wires, are you?
Cutting what?
Avery, you had a dent in this car today. You know, we'll get these few things off, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do with you guys. Maybe about it.
Mr. Blair.
Dan.
Here is yet another fun thing for you guys to play
Excellent. Well, thank you.
At Russ Bros,
We have to put this in here today.
Let's not pull on Avery.
the crew is hustling to finish the Roadrunner build before Mike returns at the end of the week.
Smooth.
Oh, we got a transmission.
My old man's been working really hard this year. He's burning the candle at both ends, so to speak, with the shop and the construction company. He's got a heart of gold. Like, he always goes above and beyond to try to help people out with their builds and let their dreams come to reality. No matter what we build, what he drags in, every car he looks at is a beautiful project waiting to be done.
Oh, damn it.
He overlooks the bad parts because he, in his mind, sees this beautiful finished rig, but it's the process of getting there where the problems come up.
We gotta get this roof in the freaking car, man.
He's a fan of keeping things original.
Welcome to Fiber New.
These look incredible.
We repaired all the cracks in them, re-dyed them, nice whites.
Probably good that I came to pick them up instead of Mike's dirty hands.
I think my old man will like it, but we're gonna find out.
These, yes, those are the tongs. They're the cleanest pliers I could find. I wiped them off.
At Russ Bros, the crew is taking a much-needed break from the Roadrunner build.
It's good?
Yes.
Do you taste anything you eat?
Trying think overrated.
Hey!
Ooh.
What the hell's going on? I've been working full-time, 4 miles underground in a tunnel. Show up, they're having a weenie roast. Blair, you're running a pretty lax ship here.
Well.
I'm not there supervising. Hopefully everything's going good, because that Roadrunner should be almost done. I mean, what the hell's going on here?
Okay, if you're done complaining, we have a big surprise for you.
Oh, I love surprises.
It's a good one.
Oh, wow! Listen to that! Who's driving my car? What the hell is he doing in my car?
Hot Dog Express, Mike.
That thing looks sick. Wow. This Roadrunner build in my books is a 12 out of 10. And it looks amazing. I'm almost speechless. Look at this thing. Oh my God, it is just Mopar perfection. Look at those lines. Look at that color.
It'll match your high vis.
Yes.
I was pretty skeptical on this color, but at the end of the day, it looks really sharp.
It's curious yellow. It's yellow, but then when you look at it out of the corner of your eye, you'd swear it was green. They called it curious yellow for a reason. It's amazing in the sun with that white upholstery. I mean, doesn't it just flow with the black?
Yes.
It looks amazing. Cass, you got your raise. When I see the work Cassidy's done on this car, she has come a long way in the last year. The body lines are crisp. The paint looks amazing. She did 98% of the body work on the car. It just looks lean and mean. It's time for me to buck up and pay her what she's worth. Look at those tires. Got 14-inch bears up front, 13-inch in the back. And those 3-inch pipes sticking out, it's gonna sound nasty.
Are you gonna open the hood, man?
Oh, look at this thing. It's so clean.
A lot of work put into this motor. It's been bored out and stroked to a 416. It's pretty much everything you would want in a muscle car.
Does the horn work?
Yeah, of course it works.
Kind of like this car, actually.
What do you think, Dave?
It does look good, Mike. It makes him look good, which sometimes is pretty hard. It's a kick-ass car.
I'm ecstatic with the build. It's been an amazing transformation. I had a vision, surpassed all of my expectations. Thanks, Carl. You guys did an amazing job. Buddy. I don't tell anyone often enough what a good job they're doing. I should do it more often, but basically, I'm old school. Good job, guys. Connor.
Oh, get away from me.
You know, it's about time my dad actually shows a bit of appreciation for what goes on at the shop.
Get in here.
Yeah. Especially with him being gone this year a lot, crew has really come together and put in a lot of work to make sure our builds are getting done on time.
Avery, you get nothing. You did a great job. You didn't smack it up.
I think he's really happy with it. It's been a difficult build, but just to see the look on his face makes it all worth it.
Okay, let's take it for burn.
Okay. Hey, paint suit or shower?
Okay, give me 5 minutes. This car deserves to fly. It's a Roadrunner. Can hardly wait to fire it up. You guys ready? Oh, baby. It's low, it's lean, it's loud, it's mean, and it's gonna get up and go. 482 horse, boom! The specs say 482 horse, 502 foot-pounds. I'm gonna put that to the test.
Rides nice. This car handles nice. Feels nice, drives nice. Put it on the floor. And you know what? It's got some really good specs on this motor. She's got a bit of pep.
The car pulls like a mule. Sounds like a freight train coming at you. No bumps, no rattle.
I can't believe how nice this car drives.
And it handles like a dream. Smooth and creamy.
Drives nice.
The thing is gonna be a road warrior. I built it to drive hard. I built it to handle. I built it to perform. It's gonna do all of these things, and I'll probably end up washing it more than I wash myself. Wow, what do you think, guys?
Tell you what, Mike, I've driven just about every car.
Yeah?
This is a good piece.
This is a good piece.
Hey, man. How you feeling?
I feel sick.
Yeah, you don't sound too good.
2 days later in Pitt Meadows, BC,
I tell you what, I appreciate you covering for me to go down there and see how the guys are making out and give them a hand.
Yeah.
I have no words for it. Thank you.
I understand. It's all good. You need to just get better.
Jacob is lending a hand on the mini build after Avery caught a cold during the test drive for the Roadrunner convertible.
Okay, thanks, Abe. Talk to you later.
Okay. Yeah.
Bye. Okay, bye. He definitely doesn't sound good. So today, I have to go to RXN. Part of the deal is to help out putting this car back together. Hello. Avery's under the weather, so I gotta pick up the slack. And there's a lot to do. Hey, man. How's it going?
Get you?
Good. Jacob.
Lucas.
Nice to meet you. So, the old man couldn't be here today. He's under the weather.
All right.
Do you think I can give you a hand instead, or what?
Always.
All right, well, lead the way.
Follow me.
What do we got to do?
The biggest thing we're going to get going on today is getting the motor and the engine cradle into the car and get some doors on it.
No problem. Looks awesome. It's all painted. See what it looked like on our hoist. I know Avery really loves this car. When I see him talk about it, his eyes light up, takes him back to maybe a little bit of his youth. So I'm pretty excited to help Avery out on this. Wow, this thing's really clean now.
Yeah.
It's a full race spec motor. This thing could go on the track and actually compete. It's like a go-kart on steroids. Look at that. Even though it's a small car, it will not be a small task.
You go in here, if I remember correctly, like this.
Everything's gonna be finished, so you can't just go ramming it on there the way we took it off.
Oh, yeah, I like it.
You get there, Ken?
Yeah.
But there is more work to do, and I know these guys got a lot more to do.
Thanks for coming in and helping out here, Jacob. We've only got a couple days left on this car here, so we're not over time and over budget.
That looks like a lot of work.
We'll get her done, though.
Yeah. All the little small pieces, the door handles, the trim pieces, all this kind of stuff, there's tons left to do. So it's going to be a big push for these guys. But they've made it way better than it was before. I think Avery's going to be pretty speechless when it's done. I think he's going to be really happy with this car.
Well, Abe, I'm looking forward to seeing this thing, man. I know these guys do pretty high-end builds.
Yeah.
At RXN Motorsports,
We're here.
Mike, Chafin, and Jacob have joined a now healthy Avery to see what the shop achieved with his Austin Mini.
Are you looking forward to this? Hey. You excited? You have no idea how excited I am. You know what? RXN took this car. It had some problems. So I'm very curious to see what has happened.
Look at that. That's not Avery's car. It's way too nice for him.
Oh, look at
Hey, guys.
What do you think, Avery? Good to see you.
How you doing?
Good. See ya.
Wow.
I'm amazed. This car, it's awesome.
What do you think?
It doesn't look like my car. It looks better.
I know.
Well, that's the whole idea.
It's way too nice for you. You can't have it.
I tell you what.
Basically, this Mini looks like it's right out of the factory. They did an amazing job. I mean, the paint just pops. I can't believe how smooth it is. It looks good, man. It's amazing.
The paint is absolutely spectacular on this thing.
The RG, man.
Yeah. Paint color on this car is 100% traditional. British racing green. There is no other color for a British car.
Did it do that before?
No, it did not. They really outdid themselves. The lines match so well. It is incredible.
I like that roof. Yeah.
Carbon fiber, very light, very strong, stronger than factory.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
This new roof, I'm absolutely ecstatic about it. It is unique, it's special, and you know what? It's mine!
And take a look under there, Avery. Carbon fiber valence. Right? All new floor, new rockers, all new structure. Very safe now.
Holy cow. Am I ever glad that it got changed? The bottom was so badly butchered on this thing.
All completely rebuilt, done correctly. You notice we did some different effects on the front here.
I like the blacked out grill. It's no longer a hillbilly front end. This is a show car front end.
How do those hood things work?
Just a simple push. What do you think of that?
God, that looks good.
All nickel copper brake lines,
Awesome.
clutch line, refinished it all. The components are done.
Amazing.
Take a look inside here.
Oh, God.
That's nice, eh?
Yeah, Lucas hand formed that all.
Wow. What they've done with this dash, it shows the talent that these guys have over here. It's retained enough of its original look.
Absolutely, still Mini.
RXN did a wonderful job of putting this Mini back to original with some classic touches.
You happy?
Yeah, I am happy. My breath is taken away on this. It's more than my expectations because I knew what the car was like when I had it.
Yeah.
And I expected just a simple paint job at it.
There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
True to their words, this car, it's better than brand new.
I think we should take it for a burn.
Get in here.
Put in there.
Let's go. I've never sat in one of these.
And I'm absolutely ecstatic to take this car and drive it.
Oh, fire this thing up. Let's go. I hope this thing runs half as good as it looks, because this thing looks amazing. Don't kill us.
See you, boys.
Check the brakes.
Where we're going, we don't need brakes.
I tell you what, they did an amazing job.
I'm very happy about it. My favorite car is a Mini, hands down. As soon as you get in this car, it puts a smile on your face.
It's beautiful, Ave. You don't deserve this.
And you know what? It's super special to have my son, my stepson, and my best friend Mike in there, all together.
Hey, why is there a seat cover on this seat?
Nothing, it's nothing.
Just leave the seat alone.
Hey, that's my seat.
Right, I liberated it. One big, happy, dysfunctional family.
You guys.
Mike Hall had always believed that the soul of Rust Valley was hidden beneath the heaps of twisted chrome and dust-choked metal that sprawled across his yard like a graveyard of forgotten dreams. But on the morning everything changed, The mist hung so thick over the mountains of Tappan that even the rust seemed to hold its breath, waiting for something he couldn't quite name. And as he walked the gravel path between the skeletal remains of cars he had sworn for years he would restore one day, he couldn't shake the strange, hollow feeling crawling under his ribs, a sense that something was not right, not in the way a broken carburetor or a stubborn distributor could frustrate him, but in the way a storm approaches before the sky admits it. Avery, cheerfully swinging a mug of steaming coffee, shouted across the lot that a new client had arrived, someone who insisted on talking to Mike personally, someone who wouldn't take no for an answer, which usually belonged to collectors with too much money or dreamers with too little. But when Mike trudged toward the office, brushing rust flakes from his jacket, the client wasn't there, only a folded envelope with his name scrawled in frantic black marker resting on the counter like a warning. And Avery swore he hadn't seen anyone come or go, which was absurd because the bell above the office door always chimed, even when a breeze touched it. Yet now it sat still, silent, and somehow accusatory. Mike opened the envelope, expecting a request for a quote or a picture of someone's grandpa leaning proudly against a long-lost muscle car. But instead there was only a single Polaroid photograph, grainy, underexposed, uncanny, showing a rusted-out Camaro deep in the woods, a faint silhouette standing beside it, its features blurred as if the camera itself had panicked, and on the back of the Polaroid were 4 words written messily, almost trembling. "You forgot something, Hall." He stared at the picture, baffled, the name Hall echoing in his skull as though spoken aloud, and he felt an uncomfortable tug of memory, like a nightmare he had convinced himself he never had. But before he could ask Avery whether someone was pulling a very elaborate prank, the sound of an engine turning over somewhere near the back lot snapped both their heads around, a sound too smooth to belong to any of their unfinished builds, and certainly not to the ancient pickup Mike drove daily. And Avery muttered that maybe Connor had started early, though it wasn't even close to opening time, and Connor was the last person who would show up before noon unless bribed with beer or pizza, so they jogged to the far yard where the sound seemed to originate. Yet when they arrived, everything was still, the cars unmoved, the dust undisturbed, and only the faint echo of that engine remained drifting over the trees. Mike felt something uncanny tightening around him, like the valley itself was holding its secrets close, and though he wanted to laugh off the strangeness, he couldn't ignore the way the Polaroid image of the Camaro gnawed at his thoughts, reminding him of a car he once chased but never caught, a project he had abandoned in the depths of his youth, or maybe a memory he had buried for good reason, determined to shrug it off. He shoved the photograph into his jacket pocket and returned to the shop where Avery had already begun rambling about the day's tasks. But halfway through the list, the power flickered, humming with a strange metallic resonance that reminded Mike of old tube radios, and then the shop phone rang with a shrillness that made both men jump, and when Mike answered, there was only static at first, the grainy hiss twisting into what sounded disturbingly like faint breathing, followed by a voice so distorted it barely seemed human whispering his name, Mike, and then the line went dead. Avery asked if he was okay, but Mike brushed it off, forcing a laugh that didn't ease the tension tightening his chest, and insisted they get back to work, yet in the corners of his eye shadows seemed to move between the rusting bodies of cars, and every distant clang of metal made him turn sharply as if expecting someone to step out, someone watching, someone waiting. By noon, Connor finally showed up, complaining about the cold and asking if they were pranking him because he had heard a rumor in town that Mike had gone missing overnight. A rumor so specific and so sudden that even Avery stopped what he was doing to stare, and Mike demanded to know who had said such. Nonsense, but Connor only shrugged, saying he'd overheard it at the gas station, where 2 truckers mentioned that the RCMP had been asking around after a man matching Mike's description was reportedly seen wandering alone along a Forest Service road miles from town, long after midnight, even though Mike swore he had been asleep in his own bed, dead tired from a week of backlog builds. Unease clawed deeper as the rumor spread through town faster than gasoline ignites, with customers calling to make sure Mike was safe neighbors dropping by the shop with concerned expressions, and someone anonymously leaving a map on the office desk with a red X marked at the same location that the Polaroid seemed to depict, deep in the backwoods, dangerously close to the abandoned logging trails where maps often lied and GPS lost its mind. By late afternoon, Mike realized he couldn't ignore it any longer. The valley, the rumors, the Polaroid, the voice, it all converged into something too deliberate to dismiss. So he climbed into his battered truck, told Avery and Connor he'd be back before dusk, and drove out of Rust Valley with a heaviness he hadn't felt in years, heading toward the place where that eerie red X waited for him like a wound on the map. And as the tree leans swallowed the sun, he felt as though the valley itself was exhaling, ready to reveal something he wasn't sure he wanted to find, something that might explain why people believed he had gone missing, and why in some strange and impossible way. A part of him feared they might not be wrong. The deeper Mike drove into the back roads of the valley, the more the world seemed to fold in on itself, the dense pines leaning toward the dirt track like silent witnesses, branches clawing at the fading daylight as though trying to keep him from moving forward. Yet he kept pushing the truck along the rutted path, guided only by the crude red X on the mysterious map and the uneasy certainty that something waited for him out there, something he might have forgotten or something that had been waiting for years to be remembered. The radio crackled with static even though he had turned it off, a low whispering distortion that rose and fell like breath. But every time he glanced at the radio's dark screen, the whispers stopped, leaving only the thrum of the engine and the crunch of gravel under his tires, until finally the track narrowed so much that he had no choice but to park and continue on foot, the forest swallowing sound the moment he stepped out, muffling the world like thick velvet pressed against his ears. He pocketed the Polaroid and followed the faint trail deeper among the trees, each step stirring old leaves and sending birds scattering overhead. And though he tried to steady his breathing, the weight of his own footsteps felt unnervingly loud, as if someone or something was listening, mirroring his pace just beyond his sight. As he climbed over a fallen log, he spotted something glinting through the underbrush ahead, a flash of dull metal catching the dying light, and as he pushed branches aside, he froze. There, half swallowed by the forest, sat the Camaro from the Polaroid, its once aggressive lines softened by decades of decay, vines curling through the wheel wells like skeletal fingers clutching the frame. And for a moment he simply stared, overwhelmed by the strange sensation that he had been here before, that he had stood in this exact spot, looking at this exact car, though that made no sense, because he would remember something like this. Would have to remember it. Slowly, he approached, running a hand across the corroded surface, the rust flaking away like ash, and as he touched the hood, a sudden cold shot up his arm. Not the chill of metal left too long in shade, but something deeper, a chill that felt almost sentient, and instantly he pulled back, heart hammering, convinced for a moment he had felt a faint thrum beneath the hood, as if the dead engine had gasped. Shaking the thought from his mind, he circled the car and noticed the driver's door hanging slightly open, the gap just wide enough to reveal the dark interior. And when he reached out to pull it open fully, the hinges screamed with a pitch too sharp to be natural, a sound that echoed unnervingly through the forest, and inside he saw the decayed upholstery, the cracked dashboard, and resting in the driver's seat, a second Polaroid, identical in size and style to the first. He snatched it up, dread coiling in his gut before he even flipped it over, and when he did, the image nearly dropped from his shaking fingers. It showed him standing beside the Camaro, exactly where he stood now, looking older, more hollow, his clothes torn, his eyes sunken with exhaustion, as though he had wandered the woods for days, and on the back were 3 more words. "You were here." Panic flickered like a dying spark, and he staggered away from the car, scanning the silent woods for any sign of movement, certain now that someone was watching, someone who had been following him for much longer than he realized. And as he backed away, a twig snapped behind him. He spun, but no one stood there, only the indifferent sprawl of trees, yet he could swear he felt breath on the back of his neck, the faint warmth of a presence too close to deny. So he bolted, branches whipping against his arms as he ran, fueled by instincts older than logic, sprinting until he reached the truck and slammed the door, locking it as though thin metal could protect him from whatever strange thing was out there. His hands trembled as he jammed the key into the ignition. And, though the truck coughed stubbornly at first, it roared to life just as a shadow flickered in the rearview mirror. Tall, indistinct, almost human. But when he spun around, nothing was there except the darkness gathering between the trees. He floored the gas, tearing back down the narrow track, feeling the forest lean in as if reluctant to let him go. And when he finally burst onto the main road, he didn't slow down until the valley lights appeared in the distance, glowing faintly like a constellation of safety, though he knew safety was an illusion now. When he returned to the shop, Avery and Connor were pacing anxiously, ready to ask a dozen questions at once. But their words died the moment they saw his face, pale and drawn, and he held out the second Polaroid with a trembling hand, watching horror bloom across theirs as they recognized him in the photo, even though he insisted he had never taken it, had never been in those woods before today, had never looked that terrified. In his life, Avery suggested calling the police, but Mike snapped that he wasn't about to tell the RCMP that some phantom photographer was stalking him through the forest, nor did he want to explain why a Camaro he had supposedly never seen before felt so familiar it made his bones ache. So instead he tossed both Polaroids onto the workbench and paced the shop, wrestling with memories that weren't memories. Flashes of headlights cutting through darkness, the roar of an engine he couldn't place, a desperate voice shouting his name from somewhere far away, and every time he tried to focus on the fragments, they slipped through his mind like smoke. As night settled over Rust Valley, the shop lights flickered once more, the same strange metallic tremor rippling through the power lines, and Connor joked weakly about ghosts in the wiring, but no one laughed, not even him. And when Mike finally stepped outside for air, the cool night breeze should have calmed him, yet instead he noticed something chilling. Footprints in the dust leading from the back lot toward the shop door, footprints too fresh to have been made earlier, footprints that matched his boots exactly, except for one impossible detail. They headed toward the shop, not away, as if someone wearing his boots had arrived moments before he did. He followed the trail slowly, heart pounding, until it ended abruptly beside the open gate of the lot, open even though he knew he had locked it that morning. And as he stood there, staring into the dark, he felt again that uncanny sensation that a part of him had been here before, that perhaps the rumors swirling around town weren't mistaken or malicious, but rooted in something far more unsettling, something that suggested that even though he had returned from the woods, some version of him might still be out there, wandering, watching, waiting for him to remember whatever it was he had tried so hard to forget. Mike barely slept that night, drifting in and out of shallow, fractured dreams where the forest kept calling his name in overlapping echoes, each version of his voice older, more exhausted, as though dozens of unseen cells whispered from different corners of the dark. Every time he jolted awake, he felt the phantom weight of the Polaroids in his pocket, even though he had left them at the shop, and the unease tightened around him like a memory that refused to fully surface, leaving him pacing the living room until dawn bled into the sky. By morning, he decided he needed answers, real ones, not guesses or hunches. So he drove back to the shop long before Avery or Connor typically arrived, the gravel crunching beneath his tires in the gray half-light. And when he stepped inside, he noticed immediately that something was off, not drastically, but subtly, like a tool slightly out of place or a shadow that shouldn't exist. And as he moved through the shop, he stopped dead in his tracks. When he saw the Polaroids on the workbench, not lying where he had tossed them, but arranged carefully side by side, perfectly aligned, as though someone had studied them closely and wanted him to see that they had. Swallowing the chill crawling up his spine, he reached for the photos, but before he could touch them, the shop phone rang again with that same shrill screech as before, slicing through the silence like a warning. And though every instinct screamed at him not to answer, he lifted the receiver with a shaky hand. The static returned instantly, swelling and receding like a distant tide. And then, layered beneath the distortion, he heard his own voice whispering, an unmistakable match, down to the cadence, soft but urgent. "Don't go back," followed by a metallic clatter and abrupt silence, leaving him staring at the receiver in stunned disbelief because the voice hadn't sounded pre-recorded or artificial. It had sounded alive, frightened, and impossibly familiar. "Shaken," he hung. Up and stepped outside just as the sun crested over the mountains, coating Rust Valley in a pale gold light that should have felt comforting but instead only highlighted how wrong everything felt. And while he stood in the yard rubbing a hand over his face, Connor's beat-up car screeched into the lot, sending dust swirling, and Connor practically leapt out, waving his phone wildly, shouting that he had something Mike needed to see. Confused, Mike followed him inside where Avery had just arrived, bleary-eyed and holding a half-eaten breakfast sandwich, and Connor thrust the phone into Mike's hands, pulling up a post on a local community forum, a blurry photo taken at night near a gas station on the edge of town, showing a tall, disheveled figure wandering beside the pumps, barefoot, clothes torn, head hanging low, and though the image quality was terrible, the timestamp said it was taken at 2:17 a.m., and the figure looked exactly like Mike. Avery cursed softly and muttered that someone had to be messing with them, but Mike recognized the posture, the slumped shoulders, the fatigued gait. He had seen that exact expression on the Polaroid, the older version of himself staring across time, and the fear that had been gnawing at him erupted into something sharper, a fear not of an impersonator, but of the possibility that the woods had changed him somehow, fractured time or memory in a way he couldn't understand. Refusing to panic publicly, he told Connor to ignore the post, and Avery to keep the shop running while he checked something important, though he didn't tell them what that something was. Instead, he drove straight to the gas station where the photo had been taken, parking in the exact spot shown in the grainy frame, scanning the pavement for any sign he had actually been there. But the station owner, a grizzled man who had known Mike for years, stepped outside and asked why he looked so pale, adding that his friend had been acting strangely the night before, pacing by the dumpsters and muttering to himself, but disappearing before the owner could ask if he needed help. Mike insisted he hadn't been there, but the owner frowned and said the man had looked exactly like him, right down to the limp he sometimes had after a long day of work, and that small detail twisted inside Mike because he hadn't limped in weeks. Determined to find some logical explanation, he walked around the back of the station where the pavement dipped toward the dumpsters, and that was when he noticed footprints in the dirt, large, heavy, pressed deep, like someone had been standing there for a long time. And when he crouched to examine them, the pattern on the sole was unmistakably from his own work boots. The world seemed to tilt, vertigo surging through him as he staggered upright, gripping the dumpster for balance. And just then, from the corner of his eye, he saw movement, a figure slipping behind the tree line beyond the parking lot, fast and purposeful. Without thinking, he sprinted after it, crashing through the brush, branches slapping. His arms, breath burning in his lungs as he chased the shadow weaving between the trees. But no matter how hard he ran, the figure remained just out of reach, its form flickering like a glitch in reality, until suddenly the forest opened into a clearing he recognized all too well. The same clearing where the abandoned Camaro waited, silent and ominous. Except now the car's driver's side door was wide open, and sitting on the cracked vinyl seat was a third Polaroid. Chest heaving, he approached, slowly as though the air itself had thickened, and picked up the new photo, hands trembling as he flipped it over. This one showed a close-up of his own face, eyes wide with panic, taken from only inches away, as if someone had stood directly before him in the darkness and captured a moment he didn't remember living. On the back, written in the same shaky black scrawl, were two words, "Hurry back." The message felt less like a threat and more like a summons, as if something in the woods was losing patience, and the weight of that realization settled heavily on his chest. He didn't know whether this presence wanted to warn him or lure him deeper, nor which possibility was more terrifying, but he knew one thing with absolute clarity. Whatever hunted him, mirrored him, or tried to replace him, it wasn't finished. And if the rumors of him being missing were spreading before he had even left town, then time itself might already be slipping loose around him, unraveling faster than he could hold it together. Mike stood frozen in the clearing, the third Polaroid trembling between his fingers as the forest pressed close around him with a suffocating stillness. The kind of stillness that made every instinct scream that he was being watched from every direction at once. And the longer he stared at the image of his own terrified face, the more he felt as though the photo was not a record of the past, but of a moment still coming for him. A future snapshot waiting to solidify, forcing himself to breathe. He tucked the Polaroid into his jacket and backed away from the Camaro, the forest floor crunching beneath his boots with unnatural loudness, each step echoing like a warning until he finally broke into a run, terrified that if he slowed for even a second the presence lurking behind the trees would catch up to him, seize him, or worse, step into his life in his place. When he reached his truck, chest heaving, he slammed the door shut so hard that the frame rattled, turned the ignition, and peeled out of the woods so fast that branches scraped across the sides like fingernails dragging along metal. And he didn't stop until the valley unfolded in front of him once more, lined with familiar farms and open fields that should have calmed him, but now felt like fragile illusions barely covering whatever had followed him from the forest. By the time he returned to the shop, Avery and Connor were waiting outside with expressions that made his stomach drop. Not just worry, but confusion and something bordering on fear. And before he could ask what happened, Avery shoved his phone into Mike's hands, showing him a text message thread that made no sense. Messages supposedly sent by Mike over the last hour. Messages that were filled with half-finished sentences, coordinates, frantic pleas for help, and ending with a chilling final line. "It's here with me. Don't let it leave." Mike swore he hadn't touched his phone, pulling it from his pocket to check for himself. And sure enough, the messages existed on his own device too, but marked as sent, not drafts, with timestamps matching the time he had been in the forest, making his knees weaken as he realized either someone had cloned his number or he had somehow sent messages he didn't remember writing. Connor insisted he must have pocket dialed while panicking in the woods, but the length and coherence of the messages made that impossible. And as Mike tried to piece it together, he noticed something even more unnerving. His phone battery, nearly full that morning, had drained to almost nothing, as if something had consumed the energy, a detail too bizarre to rationalize yet too obvious to ignore. Refusing to let Avery and Connor spiral into their own panic, he told them to stay in the shop while he went inside to think. But the moment he stepped through the doorway, the lights flickered and the radio on the far counter, an ancient unit that hadn't worked properly in years, crackled to life, emitting a warped distortion that slowly resolved into a faint, distant voice repeating a single word, "Back, back, back," until the static swallowed it again. Mike unplugged the radio immediately, but the static continued for several seconds before fading out, leaving the shop wrapped in a heavy silence that seemed to pulse with a presence he couldn't see. Determined to regain even a shred of control, he spread the 3 Polaroids across the workbench, examining each one carefully, searching for clues in the backgrounds, shadows, or angles. But the more he stared, the more disturbing the pattern became. Each photo wasn't just documenting his encounter with the forest. They were documenting the progression of something following him, something drawing closer with every snapshot. And in the second image, the one showing him standing by the Camaro, he now noticed a faint blur behind his shoulder, a smudged shape that could have been a trick of light, but resembled a human figure leaning forward, watching him. When he pointed this out to Avery and Connor, both men squinted at the photo and went pale because the smudge wasn't just a shape but a silhouette, tall and slightly hunched, with indistinct edges that made it seem like it was vibrating or flickering in and out of the moment, as if it didn't quite belong in the photograph or in that time. Suddenly unwilling to stay in the shop any longer, Mike grabbed his keys and insisted they follow him to the clearing to see for themselves, hoping desperately that if he showed them the Camaro and the footprints and the chilling atmosphere of the woods, they might help him understand what was happening. But Avery refused flat out, saying that whatever was happening was tied to Mike alone, that the forest wanted him and only him, a statement so bizarre and earnest that even Connor didn't argue. Instead, Connor suggested they go somewhere public, a diner, a bar, anywhere with people, and talk it through logically. And though Mike wanted to dismiss the idea, The moment he stepped outside and saw a figure standing at the far end of the lot, half hidden behind one of the rusted trucks, his breath caught. The figure wasn't moving, just standing there with an unervingly familiar posture, and though the distance was too great to see the face clearly, Mike knew instantly, instinctively, impossibly. It was him. Panic surged like a punch to the gut, and before Avery or Connor could react, Mike sprinted toward the figure, shouting for it to stop. But the moment he got within 20 feet, the figure stepped back, behind the truck, vanishing as though slipping into thin air. And when Mike skidded to the other side, no one was there, the dust undisturbed, the air cold and still, leaving him shaking uncontrollably. Avery and Connor reached moments later, both terrified, and Avery whispered that whatever he had seen, this was no longer just strange. It was dangerous, and they needed to make a plan before Mike lost himself entirely to whatever doubled, mirrored, or hunted him. But Mike hardly heard their voices because at that exact moment, his phone buzzed in his pocket. Not with a call or a text, but with a notification from an app he never used. A voice memo labeled with the current time. With trembling fingers, he pressed play, and his blood ran cold as his own voice filled the air, whispering in a ragged, frantic tone. "Don't come looking for me. I'm not where you think. I'm not what you think. Stay away from him." The recording ended abruptly, leaving the three men staring at one another in stunned horror as the valley wind swept through the lot, carrying with it the disturbing truth that somewhere out there was a version of Mike desperate to warn them, and another version closing in fast. Mike didn't remember the drive back to his house, only the sensation of cold sweat clinging to his skin and the vague awareness that Avery and Connor were following close behind in separate vehicles, refusing to leave him alone after the voice memo that should not exist, the voice memo spoken in his voice, but filled with a fear so deep and raw that it made the real Mike feel like a stranger to himself. Once they reached his place, a small cabin tucked at the edge of Rust Valley, the three of them stepped inside cautiously, every creak of the floorboards making Mike flinch as though the house were breathing, and he couldn't shake the feeling that someone, another him, might already be inside, hiding in the dim corners, waiting for the right moment to step into the light. Connor closed the curtains while Avery checked the rooms, opening every closet, every cupboard, even the crawlspace door, but each space was empty, silent, undisturbed. And that silence somehow made everything worse, because it meant whatever version of Mike had sent the warning was either gone or had never been physically there at all. Mike sank into a chair, head in his hands, trying to breathe through the crushing pressure at his chest, his mind racing with questions that had no rational answers. Was the figure he kept chasing an illusion, a hallucination, a ghost? Or was it something far stranger, something tied to the woods, the Camaro, the Polaroids, the glitching distortions in the shop's power lines, the messages he didn't remember sending but clearly had? Avery suggested they go to the police, but Mike refused immediately, insisting they would never believe him. And even if they did, what could they realistically do against something that could mimic him perfectly or take photos from moments he couldn't recall living? Instead, he told Avery and Connor to go home and get some rest, promising he would lock the doors and try to get a few hours of sleep, though all three men knew he was lying, that there would be no sleep, not until they understood what was stalking him. And after a long, tense silence, his friends reluctantly left, still glancing over their shoulders as though expecting another Mike to step out of the shadows behind them. Once the last car disappeared from view, the house seemed to exhale, the temperature dropping slightly, and Mike felt an urge, a pull, drawing him toward the back window overlooking the forest that bordered his property, a forest that now felt alive with secrets, each tree holding its breath as though waiting for him to make his next move. He approached the window slowly, scanning the dark tree-line, and at first he saw nothing but shadow, until a faint glimmer caught his eye near the base of a cedar, a small, square shape propped carefully against the trunk like an offering. Heart pounding, he grabbed a flashlight and stepped outside into the cold night air, drawn toward the object as though it were a magnet pulling at the deepest part of his mind. And the moment he got close enough to see it clearly, his breath froze. Another Polaroid, the fourth one, this time showing him in his own bedroom. asleep in his bed, taken from only a few feet away. Panic slammed into him as he snatched the photo and flipped it over, expecting another cryptic message, but instead there was only a symbol drawn in thick black ink, a crude spiral curling inward, uneven and frantic, like someone had carved it repeatedly until the surface nearly tore. Trembling, he looked back toward the house, his flashlight beams sweeping across the windows, half expecting to see his double staring at him from inside. But the house remained still, silent, empty as far as he could see. He stumbled backward, pulse racing so hard it blurred his vision, and retreated into the house, locking the door with fumbling hands before throwing the deadbolt and sliding a chair beneath the knob, as if that flimsy barrier could stop something capable of appearing in photographs taken inside locked rooms. Once inside, he placed a fourth Polaroid on the kitchen table beside the others, forming a grim timeline of escalating intrusion, and he stared at them for a long time, his mind trying to piece together patterns, connections, motives, anything that could explain why someone or something was documenting his unraveling. Eventually, exhausted and wired, he sat on the couch with the lights off, gripping a tire iron he'd taken from the truck, listening for any sound out of place. And that was when it happened. A soft, deliberate knock at the front door. 3 slow taps that echoed through the cabin with unnatural clarity, making the hairs on his arms rise as though static electricity filled the air. He held his breath, waiting, hoping it was Avery or Connor returning despite knowing in his gut it wasn't. And when the knock came again, 3 identical taps, each spaced perfectly apart, he crept toward the door, tire iron raised, his heart thundering loud enough that he wondered if the thing outside could hear it. The peephole revealed nothing but darkness, no silhouette, no movement, yet the knocking continued a third time, measured and patient, as though the visitor knew he was watching and was unbothered by his fear. Swallowing hard, he whispered through the door, "Who's there?" and immediately regretted it because the reply came instantly, spoken in his voice. "Let me in, Mike." The words were so calm, so eerily identical to his own cadence that he stumbled backward, dropping the tire iron, and the thing outside repeated itself, this time with a faint edge of irritation. "Let me in." Mike backed away slowly, pulse hammering against his ribs, shaking his head as though the presence could see the refusal. And then silence fell, total, suffocating silence, until the doorknob twitched, just slightly as though tested by a hand on the other side. He grabbed the tire iron again and retreated toward the hallway, every nerve in his body screaming that the door wouldn't hold if the thing truly wanted to come inside. But after several long seconds, the doorknob stilled and the oppressive silence returned, broken only by the distant howl of wind sweeping across the valley. Mike waited, and finally crept back to the window, peeking out to see if he could spot any trace of the intruder. But the porch was empty, the steps undisturbed, no footprints in the frost, nothing to indicate anyone had been there at all. And for a dizzying moment, he wondered if his mind was fracturing under the pressure of the past few days. But then his phone buzzed violently, vibrating across the table, lighting up with a notification that made his stomach drop. A new message from an unknown number containing a single image, a photo taken from just minutes earlier, showing him standing in the hallway with the tire iron, peeking toward the front door, the picture taken from inside the house behind him. Mike woke before sunrise, startled by the harsh metallic clank of a windstorm shaking the loose side panel of the barn. And for a moment he lay still, listening to the echo of the noise vibrating through the rafters like a warning from some unseen presence haunting Rust Valley, before blinking at the dim orange streaks bleeding through the dusty window and remembering that today he had promised himself he would face everything he had been avoiding. The empty spaces left by disappearing cars, the incomplete builds, the missing notes from Avery's logbooks, and above all the tension hanging over the yard like a fog since his unexplained absence earlier in the week, because now that word had spread about his sudden vanishing act, everyone, Connor, Chaffin, Cassidy, even Sarah from the parts desk, kept trying to act normal around him. But he could feel their silent questions following him the way headlights follow a car on a deserted highway at night. So he hauled himself out of bed, through, on a flannel shirt that smelled faintly of paint and motor oil, and stepped outside into the cold morning haze that wrapped the entire valley in a pale, ghostly stillness that made the rows of rusted cars look like forgotten monuments. He walked past the Chevelle shell he had planned to restore months ago and paused at the Nova frame propped up on blocks, rubbing a hand along the edge as though greeting an old friend, then continued toward the shop where he could already hear the faint buzzing of an impact gun, which meant Connor had arrived early, probably trying to get ahead on the '69 Camaro rebuild they had promised the owner weeks ago. Inside, the shop lights flicked overhead, illuminating dust motes swirling like tiny constellations, and there was Connor, crouched over the engine bay with the kind of focused determination he usually reserved for jobs that mattered personally, though Mike knew this extra effort wasn't really about the Camaro. This was Connor's way of stabilizing the chaos Mike had created, of trying to hold the yard together until Mike fully returned to himself. "Morning," Mike said, and Connor only nodded, but the relief in his eyes was unmistakable as he wiped his hands on a rag and asked if Mike wanted to check the new carburetor. And though Mike agreed, he found his attention drifting, distracted by the uneasy feeling that something was still off, something he had sensed ever since the rumors began circulating that a collector from Alberta, an elusive buyer known for sweeping through car yards and snatching up rare frames, had been asking questions about Rust Valley and specifically about Mike's absence, which didn't sit right with him at all. While Connor detailed the adjustments he had made overnight, Mike walked to the back of the shop to grab a tool and spotted Chaffin hunched beside the lift, typing furiously into his phone. When he noticed Mike watching, he quickly lowered the device, forcing an awkward smile that only deepened Mike's suspicion that the entire crew was keeping something from him. And when he asked what was going on, Chaffin insisted it was nothing more than an email from the parts supplier, but Mike wasn't. Convinced because Chaffin did that thing, avoiding eye contact and talking too fast, that he always did when he was hiding something important. The day moved on with the usual rhythm of clattering tools, humming compressors, and the signature Rust Valley soundtrack of overlapping conversations punctuated by the occasional shout when a stubborn bolt refused to budge. And though the familiarity of it all should have comforted him, Mike felt a pressure tightening across his chest, the same pressure he had felt the day he disappeared, when he drove into the mountains without telling anyone, needing space to think after receiving the anonymous envelope that contained only a photograph of one of his rarest finds, a '57 Pontiac, sitting in a stranger's garage. He still hadn't told anyone about the envelope because he didn't want to trigger panic or suspicion among the team, but keeping it secret had become its own burden, especially now that parts and tools had begun shifting around the yard, disappearing from one spot and reappearing in another, as though someone had been wandering through at night, rearranging things with a strange, purposeful intention. By noon, the sun had broken through the clouds, casting long shadows between the scattered car frames, and Mike stepped out for air, leaning against the hood of a half-finished Dodge and staring toward the back fence, his eyes narrowing at a fresh set of tire tracks etched into the mud, tracks that didn't match any vehicle currently in the yard. He crouched, tracing the grooves with his thumb, noticing the deep indent that suggested a heavy load, and a chill slid down his spine as he wondered whether the mysterious collector had already been here, scouting his property when no one was watching. Back inside, Cassidy arrived with lunch and tossed a sandwich to Mike, studying him with that perceptive gaze she always used when sensing trouble, and she began asking gentle questions about how he was holding up, whether he had rested, whether he needed help sorting through any of the unfinished builds stacking up on the schedule. But before he could answer honestly, she glanced toward the office where Avery's old ledger sat open on the desk, filled with scribbled notes and diagrams that only made sense to Avery himself, and said quietly that she had found something strange that morning, a page missing from the logbook, torn clean out, leaving behind a jagged edge like someone had removed it in a hurry. The missing page hit Mike harder than it should have, confirming his fear that the yard was being watched or infiltrated by someone who knew exactly what they were looking for, because Avery's logs were meticulous, documenting every car, every part, every trade, and whoever took that page wanted information, not random scrap. Determined not to let the team sense the rising panic inside him, Mike finished his sandwich, wiped his hands, and told them he needed to run a quick errand, then climbed into his tow truck and headed toward the outskirts of Salmon Arm, following a faint lead about a collector spotted near an abandoned quarry. The road wound through tall pine forests, sunlight flickering through the branches like strobe lights on wet pavement, and Mike gripped the steering wheel tighter as he replayed the events of the last few days, trying to stitch together the fragments of clues into something coherent, but each answer seemed to generate more questions. When he reached the quarry, he parked the truck and walked across the uneven gravel, scanning the horizon until he saw it. A rusted trailer sitting crooked between two boulders, its sides dented, its windows clouded with grime, but what caught his attention was the unmistakable silhouette of a car tarpan's side, fluttering in the breeze like a torn flag. Heart pounding, he approached, lifted the tarp, and froze, not because of the car beneath it, which turned out to be nothing more than a stripped-down chassis, but because resting on the passenger seat was another envelope, identical to the first, addressed to him in the same blocky handwriting. Inside, instead of a photograph, there was a single phrase written in black marker: "You're running out of time." Mike stared at the message, the wind howling through the quarry like a warning, and in that moment he felt the weight of every unfinished build, every unanswered question, every step he had taken since returning to the yard after his disappearance, and he realized that whatever was coming next would push him, the team, and Rust Valley deeper into a mystery none of them were prepared for, but one he could no longer avoid. Not if he wanted to protect the people who had stood by him through every storm, every breakdown, and every miracle that had rolled through those shop doors. Mike drove back from the quarry with the second envelope sitting on the passenger seat like a ticking clock. He couldn't ignore the bold message, "You're running out of time," burning in his thoughts as the tow truck rattled over the uneven back roads leading toward Rust Valley. And though he kept telling himself to stay calm, that this was probably some eccentric collector playing mind games, he couldn't shake the sensation that every mile he traveled only tightened whatever trap was slowly closing around him, because the valley felt different now, heavier, as though all the rusted relics scattered across his property had begun whispering secrets he had overlooked for years. When he pulled into the yard, the air carried the sharp scent of hot metal and exhaust, and he noticed Connor and Cassidy arguing near the Camaro under the lift, their voices low but tense enough to slice through the usual shop noise. As he approached, they immediately quieted, sharing a quick glance that made it obvious they had been talking about him. So he asked what was going on, but both insisted it was nothing, just a disagreement about the timing of the rebuild. Mike didn't push because he knew when people were trying to protect him, and although he appreciated it, part of him wished they would simply tell him the truth rather than shielding him from whatever storm was gathering around the yard. He stepped inside his office to clear his head, but the moment he opened the door, he knew something was wrong. The faint scent of cigarette smoke hung in the air, too fresh to be left over from any of the crew, and on the desk, Avery's logbook had been moved, shifted slightly from where Cassidy had placed it earlier, the torn edge of the missing page seeming more jagged than before. Mike opened the ledger, flipping through the entries, and found faint indentations, like someone had pressed a pen hard against a page above, indicating that the missing sheet had contained notes about a rare Pontiac chassis they had recovered a few years back, one Mike remembered vividly because it had vanished from the yard before they ever got to restore it. A disappearance he had chalked up to poor record-keeping or a misunderstanding with a buyer. But now, with two envelopes, tire tracks, the torn page, and the creeping feeling of being watched, the coincidence was impossible to ignore. Before he could process the implications, the front door swung open and Chaffin rushed in, pale and breathless, saying he had spotted a drone hovering above the back fence near the row of old Mopars. And though drones weren't unusual in general, this one was different. It stayed low, hovering deliberately as though surveying the yard, before suddenly zipping away the moment Chaffin stepped into view. Mike followed him outside, scanning the sky, but the drone was gone, leaving behind only the uneasy silence of midday heat pressing down on the valley. Back inside the shop, Connor pulled Mike aside and finally admitted that while Mike was out, someone had tried to access the storage container behind the main building, the one where Mike kept rare parts and a few personal items, including documents from past trades and a handful of abandoned titles. The lock had been scratched and bent, as though someone had tried to pry it open with a tool. And that was when Mike felt a cold wave wash over him. Because if the mysterious collector, or whoever, was sending the envelopes was now actively trying to break into his storage, then this wasn't just harassment. This was a deliberate hunt for something inside Rust Valley, something worth the risk of sneaking onto his property. Determined to take control before panic spread among the crew, Mike rallied everyone together, calling them into the shop and closing the large bay doors to block out distractions. He explained as much as he could without revealing the envelopes, telling them simply that the yard might be receiving unwanted attention from a competitor or opportunist, and asked everyone to stay alert, stick to pairs when working the far edges of the property, and report anything unusual immediately. The team exchanged worried glances, but their loyalty to Mike was unwavering, and they nodded in agreement. Cassidy with fierce determination, Connor with a wary frown, and Shafin with nervous energy building in his voice as he suggested installing temporary cameras, an idea Mike approved instantly. After the meeting, Mike walked alone to the far fence, following the same tire tracks he had spotted earlier, trying to map out how an intruder might have entered or exited the yard. And as he crouched to examine the grass, he heard a faint click, metal shifting against metal, and stood quickly, scanning the woods, but saw nothing except a crow perched on a branch, staring at him with an unsettling stillness. He shook off the moment, but the tension remained, coiling tighter with every step he took back toward the shop. As evening approached, casting long shadows across the valley, Mike decided to check the surveillance footage from the small camera mounted above the office door. A camera he had installed years ago, but rarely reviewed unless someone complained about missing tools. And when he pulled up the files, his stomach dropped. Several minutes of footage from earlier that morning were missing, replaced by static, as though someone had jammed the signal or erased the data remotely. This wasn't random anymore. Someone with skill was working against them. Just as he tried to replay the corrupted segment again, he heard footsteps behind him and turned to find Cassidy holding a small object in her hand, a metal badge she had found near the back fence, partially buried in dirt. When Mike looked closer, he saw it was a key fob, but not one belonging to any of their current customers. Inside the casing was a serial number scratched out intentionally, and that detail alone sent a sharp jolt of alarm through him. Cassidy asked if he recognized it, and though he shook his head, something about the weight of it, the shape of the plastic, stirred an uneasy familiarity, like he had seen it years ago during a trade with a collector who had insisted on secrecy. Mike pocketed the fob, thanked Cassidy, and told her he'd look into it. But as she headed back to the shop, he lingered in the office, staring at the envelopes, the torn page, the drone sighting, the damaged lock, and now the mysterious key fob, all converging into a single undeniable truth. Someone believed Mike had something valuable, something hidden, something tied to the Pontiac that vanished years earlier, and they were becoming bolder in their attempts to retrieve it. As night fell over Rust Valley, the yard lights flickered on, casting long beams across the rows of abandoned cars, and Mike stood alone outside the shop, listening to the hum of the distant highway, the chirping of crickets, and the faint metallic groan of expanding metal cooling under the evening air. He felt a shift inside himself then, a resolve forming like hardened steel, because if someone wanted to challenge him on his own turf, threaten the stability of his yard, or endanger the people he considered family, then he would no longer sit quietly waiting for the next anonymous envelope or cryptic warning. He would uncover the truth, piece by piece, even if he had to chase ghosts from his past, dig through forgotten trades, or confront the collector who had once warned him that every rare find carried a hidden cost. And as he looked across Rust Valley, illuminated in the halo of workshop lights, he whispered to the night that whoever was coming for him had underestimated the one thing that kept this place alive, the grit of a man who had spent a lifetime rescuing Rust from oblivion and wasn't about to let anyone steal the history he had spent decades preserving. By the next morning, the tension in Rust Valley had thickened into something almost tangible, a low-grade hum beneath every interaction, every clang of a wrench, every conversation that stopped a little too quickly whenever Mike approached. Yet he forced himself to walk through the yard with steady steps, reminding himself that if he showed even a flicker of fear, the team would interpret it as proof that something truly dangerous was circling them. So he kept his shoulders back and his tone calm as he greeted Cassidy, who was already working on the wiring harness for the Camaro, though the worry in her eyes betrayed the brave face she was trying to maintain. Mike grabbed a coffee from the break table and headed toward the storage container whose lock had been tampered with, noticing instantly that someone, likely Connor, had reinforced it with a heavy steel bracket and a new padlock, a gesture that sent a warm surge of gratitude through him, because despite everything swirling around them, the crew still rallied behind him in their own quiet ways. Inside the shop, Schaffin was setting up a temporary surveillance system with motion-activated cameras he had borrowed from a friend in town, and though the setup was still crude, with wires running like nervous veins along the walls, it gave Mike a strange sense of reassurance to see his team fighting back instead of shrinking in fear. Still, the mystery of the envelopes gnawed at him relentlessly, burrowing deeper into his thoughts until he could no longer focus on anything else. And by mid-morning, he found himself pacing inside his office, turning the key fob Cassidy had discovered over and over in his hand, its scratched serial number mocking him with its deliberate secrecy. He tried matching it mentally to vehicles he had worked on over the years. Buicks, Chevelles, Mustangs, all the odd trades that had come through the yard, but the familiarity he felt had no clear anchor, like a fading memory, trapped just out of reach. Frustrated, he stepped outside to clear his head, walking toward the ridge behind the shop where he often went when he needed space to think, and as he climbed the rocky path, the valley below unfolded with its chaotic beauty. Rows of rusted relics, half-finished builds, the glint of metal catching sunlight, and the shop sitting like the beating heart of an aging machine still determined to run. But the peaceful moment didn't last long, because as he reached the ridge, he spotted fresh footprints, deep, crisp impressions, leading toward a cluster of trees overlooking the yard, the kind of prints left by someone who had stood there a while, watching. Mike crouched and touched the soil. The earth was still soft, meaning the tracks were recent, perhaps from early morning or even moments before he arrived. His pulse quickened, and he scanned the tree line, listening for movement, but the only sound was the distant buzz of an engine from the highway. He followed the tracks deeper into the trees, pushing branches aside until he reached a clearing where he found a discarded foam cup, still damp on the inside, suggesting whoever had stood here had not only been watching, but had been comfortable enough to linger and drink their morning coffee while surveying Rust Valley like a hunter studying prey. A swell of determination rose in Mike's chest, and he picked up the cup as though it were evidence from a crime scene, then hurried back toward the shop, where he found Connor tightening a set of bolts on the Camaro suspension. When Mike showed him the cup, Connor's expression darkened, and he finally confessed that he, too, had felt the presence of someone lurking on the edges of the property, someone he couldn't quite see but sensed in flashes, like catching movement from the corner of his eye. That admission unsettled Mike more than he expected, because it meant this wasn't paranoia or coincidence. It was a pattern, one that was escalating. Determined to break the cycle of reacting and start taking action, Mike drove into town to meet with an old contact named Harvey, a local scrapyard owner with a reputation for hearing things before anyone else did, the kind of man who operated on whispers, trade rumors, and the unspoken gossip of collectors who move cars like chess pieces in high-stakes games. Harvey greeted Mike with his usual gruff laugh, but when Mike mentioned the envelopes and the tampered lock, Harvey's demeanor shifted, his smile fading as he leaned in and lowered his voice to say there had been talk of a collector operating under the radar, a man known only by a nickname, the Broker, someone who specialized in tracking down rare frames that had disappeared from their rightful owners years earlier. Mike's stomach clenched when Harvey described him as a patient type, someone who watches targets quietly for weeks before making a move, someone who left warnings not out of courtesy, but as psychological leverage to make his victims slip up, reveal something, or panic into exposing whatever secret they were protecting. Mike pressed for more information, but Harvey shook his head, insisting he didn't want to get involved beyond sharing this rumor, and warned Mike to be careful, because once the broker marked someone, he rarely backed off until he had taken what he wanted. The drive back to Rust Valley felt heavier than any trip Mike had taken in years, his mind replaying Harvey's words like the echo of a ticking bomb. And when he arrived at the yard, the atmosphere felt even more charged than before, as though the very air sensed the tightening of the noose. Cassidy approached him immediately, saying they had found something else near the back gate, a strip of black fabric caught on the fence, the kind used in tactical gloves or utility clothing. And though it wasn't definitive proof of anything, it was enough to confirm that someone had been physically moving through the yard, brushing against objects, leaving traces behind like breadcrumbs from a predator who had no intention of hiding their presence anymore. Together the team gathered in the shop as dusk settled across the valley, casting long shadows between car frames that seemed to stretch like silent sentinels. Mike finally told them everything. The envelopes, the quarry, the footprints, the missing footage, Harvey's warning about the broker. The room fell into a tense silence as the truth washed over them. But instead of fear, something else flickered across their faces, defiance. Connor stepped forward first, saying they would not let anyone intimidate their yard. Cassidy nodded fiercely, adding that whoever was watching clearly underestimated how closely this team held together. Even Chaffin, usually anxious in confrontations, declared that he would rewire the entire surveillance system if he had to, just to gain an edge. The solidarity of his crew filled Mike with a fierce determination, a reminder that Rust Valley wasn't just a yard or a business. It was a family, messy and chaotic but bound by loyalty, stronger than steel. As the night deepened and they dispersed to their tasks, Mike stood outside the shop beneath the humming yard lights, staring into the dark tree line where the mysterious watcher had stood that morning, and he whispered under his breath that if the broker wanted a fight, he had chosen the wrong yard, because Mike had spent a lifetime pulling value from ruin, salvaging history from decay, and surviving storms far worse than this. And he wasn't about to let some shadow from his past threaten the legacy he had built or the people who had become the heartbeat of Rust Valley. The following morning broke with an eerie stillness that made Rust Valley feel suspended in a strange, breathless pause, as if the land itself were bracing for whatever was coming next. And when Mike stepped outside his house, he noticed immediately that the sky carried a muted, metallic haze that dulled the sunlight and cast the entire yard in a pale glow, making the rows of rusted cars look like ancient relics frozen in amber. He walked toward the shop, listening to the familiar grind of Connor's impact gun and the clatter of tools hitting metal. And for a moment, he almost fooled himself into believing everything was normal. But the illusion cracked the moment he spotted Chaffin standing on a ladder, fiddling with the newly installed security cameras while constantly glancing over his shoulder, as though expecting something to emerge from the tree line. Mike approached, offering a steady hand as Chaffin adjusted the wiring, and though the younger man tried to act casual, his voice trembled slightly as he admitted he hadn't slept well. He kept imagining footsteps outside his window, shadows moving beyond the fence, the sensation of being watched even in the dead of night. Mike reassured him with a firm pat on the back, though inside he carried the same gnawing tension, the same creeping awareness that the line between their work and their unwelcome observer had grown impossibly thin. Inside the shop, Cassidy was organizing parts with an intensity that bordered on obsessive, trying to maintain control in the one space she understood best, while Connor was hunched over the Camaro, jaw tight, his focus sharper than usual as he replaced the ignition components with deliberate precision. They greeted Mike with determined expressions, but beneath the surface he sensed their worry for the yard, for the builds, for him. Before he could update them on the latest developments, his phone buzzed in his pocket with a number he didn't recognize. Hesitating only a second, he answered and was met with silence. No breathing, no background noise, just a dead, empty void, as if someone were on the other end simply listening for confirmation that he had picked up. "Who is this?" Mike demanded, stepping outside of the shop so the crew wouldn't hear the strain creeping into his voice. And after a long, chilling pause, the call disconnected without a word. The unease sharpened into something colder, and he knew instantly that the broker, or someone working for him, had reached out, testing boundaries, gauging how rattled Mike might be. Determined not to let fear take root, He walked to the far end of the yard to check the fence line once more, his boots crunching over the brittle ground. And that was when he noticed something he hadn't seen the day before, a subtle indentation in the soil. Not a footprint, but the circular impression of a tripod or stabilizer, suggesting that someone had set up equipment to observe or record them from afar. Heart pounding, he crouched to examine it, brushing dirt aside to reveal a second and third indentation nearby. And for a moment, he felt the air thicken around him, as though the valley itself were watching through unseen eyes. He documented the markings with his phone before heading back toward the shop. But before he reached the door, he froze at the faint sound of an engine idling nearby. It wasn't coming from inside the shop. It wasn't Connor test-firing the Camaro or Schaffin testing a generator. It was coming from beyond the ridge, an unfamiliar low rumble that carried a predatory smoothness, the kind of engine tone belonging to a high-end vehicle built for speed and stealth rather than restoration. Mike hurried up the ridge path, keeping low between the bushes, and when he reached the top, he caught a glimpse of a dark SUV, a black, unmarked model with tinted windows, parked partially concealed behind a cluster of pines. The vehicle was angled toward the yard, the engine idling softly, creating a faint vibration through the trees. As he inched closer, the SUV's brake. Lights blinked suddenly, and with a quiet but powerful growl, the vehicle backed up, turned sharply, and sped down the dirt track before he could get a clear look at the plates. Dust billowed in its wake, spiraling into the air like smoke, and Mike watched it disappear, every instinct screaming that the watcher had grown bolder. He returned to the yard with a hardened resolve, but the moment he stepped into the shop, he found the team gathered around the central workbench, staring at something lying in the middle like a message left on their doorstep. A small metal emblem shaped like a stylized wolf's head, its edges sharp and polished, its surface etched with a faint symbol that resembled an interlocking gear. Cassidy explained that she had found it wedged beneath the shop door as she stepped out to grab parts. And though none of them recognized the symbol, the weight of it in Mike's hand felt disturbingly deliberate, as though someone had placed it there not by accident, but as a calling card. He ran his thumb along the smooth lines of the emblem, feeling the cold metal against his skin, and the memory stirred. An auction years ago, a heated trade, a mysterious bidder who used that very emblem as a signature of sorts, marking crates he purchased anonymously. The name had escaped Mike then, but now it returned with startling clarity. Lupo, a pseudonym whispered among collectors who dealt in shadowed deals and rare frames hidden for public record. Mike placed the emblem on the workbench, and the team exchanged uneasy glances as he explained what he remembered, the room growing tense as the implications settled into place. If this emblem belonged to Lupo, and if Lupo worked for or alongside the broker, then the situation had spiraled into something far more dangerous than a simple hunt for a missing Pontiac. Someone with resources, reach, and a network of watchers had set their sights on Rust Valley, and they were escalating their presence. Not willing to lose momentum, Mike ordered the team to stay close, double-check all locks, work in pairs, and keep radios on at all times. The crew complied instantly, their faces set with determination rather than fear. As the day progressed, tension simmered beneath every task, yet they kept working. The Camaro neared completion, the shop buzzed with life, and in a strange way, the threat looming over them only strengthened their unity, binding them with a shared purpose that transcended builds and deadlines. By late afternoon, Connor approached Mike with new information. An unfamiliar set of files had appeared on the office computer, timestamped from earlier that morning, files that none of them had opened or downloaded. When they clicked one, instead of a document or photo, it displayed a blank screen with a single line of text. "You're too slow." The crew stared at the message in stunned silence until Mike calmly closed the window, refusing to give whoever was behind it the satisfaction of seeing him rattled. That night, as the shop lights dimmed and the valley fell into shadow, Mike stood at the entrance of the yard with his arms crossed, scanning the tree line as crickets chirped and the cool breeze whispered through the wrecks. He felt the presence again, that invisible tension, the sense of someone just beyond his line of sight, and instead of shrinking back, he stepped forward, planting his boots firmly in the dirt as a silent declaration that Rust Valley wasn't going anywhere. And neither was he, because if this mysterious adversary believed he could intimidate Mike Hall into surrendering history, legacy, or the truth of what had happened years ago with that missing Pontiac, then they were about to learn just how. Stubborn, resilient, and fiercely protective a man like Mike could be when someone threatened the heart of his world. Night fell over Rust Valley with a weight that seemed to press down on everything, a darkness deeper than the usual absence of sunlight, one that carried the faint smell of oil, metal, and distant rain, and Mike walked the perimeter of the yard with a flashlight in hand, moving slowly past the rusted frames and half-finished builds, eyes scanning every shadow, ears attuned to the smallest sound, because he knew that whoever, or whatever, was watching had grown more deliberate in their approach, leaving signs that weren't immediately obvious but undeniable to someone who knew the yard as intimately as he did. The wind whispered through the trees in a way that almost sounded like voices, soft murmurs that seemed to drift just beyond comprehension. And as he approached the far corner where the footprints had appeared days ago, he noticed a subtle indentation in the frost that hadn't been there the morning before, a slight depression shaped like the sole of a boot, leading directly toward the shop. And that single detail sent a jolt of adrenaline through him, because it proved someone had been there very recently, moving quietly, deliberately, with knowledge of the layout that suggested not just observation but planning, premeditation, a predator familiar with its environment. He crouched, brushing the frost aside with gloved hands, noting the depth and angle of the tread, and realized the intruder must have been tall and deliberate in their movements, methodical, almost surgical, as if they had been rehearsing each step to avoid detection. And Mike's mind raced with possibilities. A rival collector, a criminal who had learned of the Pontiac, a figure connected to Lupo, the shadowy name he had recalled days ago, someone who had no hesitation about entering Rust Valley and leaving a calling card to remind him of their presence. Rising slowly, he scanned the yard, and the beam of his flashlight caught something glinting near the base of a Chevy Nova on blocks. A small, square object that wasn't there earlier. He approached cautiously, and when he picked it up, he recognized it immediately. Another envelope, identical to the first two, sealed, its surface rough and marked with the same blocky handwriting, and just beneath the flap, a note written in black marker. Check your past, or lose your future. The message made his chest tighten, because it referenced not just the present threat, but something buried, something hidden in Rust Valley's history, something Mike had been avoiding or forgotten, something crucial enough to motivate the intruder to escalate to this point. He pocketed the envelope and returned to the shop, where Connor and Cassidy were still working, their heads bent over parts, their movements careful and precise, as though following a rhythm that had been practiced countless times. Yet even they could feel the tension in the air, the kind that crept along walls and seeped into floorboards, the pressure of unseen eyes tracing their every motion. Mike placed the envelope on the workbench, then stepped back and finally shared everything with the team, explaining the footprints, the fob, the drone, the black SUV, Lupo, and now this new message. And though the crew listened intently, it was Cassidy who spoke first, her voice low and steady despite the unease curling through her chest. She suggested they review old files, trade documents, and restoration notes. Anything that could tie the present threats to past deals or cars that had vanished mysteriously, to try to uncover what exactly this intruder was after. Mike nodded, realizing that their best chance of regaining control lay in knowledge, in digging through Rust Valley's own past to understand why someone was hunting them now. And together they set to work, sorting through decades of paperwork, digital files, and photographs, each piece a potential key to the puzzle, each note a breadcrumb toward understanding the adversary they were facing. Hours passed, the shop illuminated by overhead lights and desk lamps, the quiet broken only by the occasional clang of a wrench or the soft rustle of paper. And as the team worked, Mike couldn't shake the feeling that the envelopes were both threats and guidance, markers leading him toward a revelation he hadn't expected, a connection between the collector's obsession with rare vehicles and something personal in Mike's own history, a thread stretching back to trades and auctions, to deals that had seemed insignificant at the time but were now part of a larger, more dangerous game. Near midnight, when the valley outside had slipped into silence, Mike leaned back from a stack of old photos and contracts and stared at a particular file that stood out. An unsigned auction ledger from years ago, detailing transactions involving a Pontiac and a Chevelle that had disappeared from public record, notes scribbled in the margins with cryptic shorthand, references to Lupo and Collector X, and a single annotation that made his stomach knot. Keep Mike close. He will find out eventually. His eyes traced the words again, realizing that someone had anticipated him, had predicted that he would eventually piece together the history, and that this observer had orchestrated events not only to retrieve whatever they wanted, but to manipulate Mike into doing their work for them, uncovering information, connecting dots, exposing vulnerabilities. He closed the file slowly, taking a deep breath, and for the first time since the envelopes began appearing, he felt the weight of strategy, the true scale of the threat, a calculated opponent using history and instinct against him. Yet beneath the tension, beneath the fear and the mounting evidence of intrusion, Mike felt a spark of clarity. Rust Valley was not just a shop, not just a yard. It was a repository of history, a fortress of knowledge, and anyone who came against it would have to contend not only with him, but with the collective strength of the crew, the experience etched into every frame, every tool, every decision made over decades of salvaging, restoring, and protecting the past. As he stood in the middle of the shop, watching Connor and Cassidy sort through files with methodical focus, Mike realized that the confrontation with the unknown, with the broker and Lupo, was inevitable, but unlike the intruder, he had allies, he had history, and he had the instincts honed by years of navigating chaos, by resurrecting rusted relics and breathing life into forgotten machines. And in that moment, the envelopes, the footprints, the drones, and the cryptic messages became less of a threat and more of a challenge, one that Mike was ready to meet head-on, because the valley had survived storms before, and so would Rust Valley itself, under his guidance and with the loyalty of the team standing beside him. Morning arrived over Rust Valley with a heavy sense of expectation, the sun rising weakly through a thick mist that made the yard feel like it existed in its own suspended reality, and Mike moved through the shop with a quiet vigilance, checking locks, reviewing camera angles, and coordinating with Connor and Chaffin to ensure that every access point, every vehicle, and every storage area was secured against further intrusion. Because the events of the previous night had made it painfully clear that whoever had targeted them was not only meticulous, but patient, watching their routines and learning their patterns, and Mike realized that the only way to regain control was to anticipate the intruder's moves before they happened. Cassidy arrived shortly after, carrying a stack of old auction documents and trade records she had recovered from the office archives, her expression tense but determined, and together they spread the files across the workbench, beginning the painstaking process of cross-referencing past sales, unusual trades, and vehicles that had vanished mysteriously, hoping to identify a pattern that would reveal what the broker, Lupo, or any other operative was after now, because it was no longer just a matter of envelopes and footprints. The situation had escalated into a calculated hunt, and without understanding the target, they had no way of defending themselves. Hours passed as the team worked in near silence, interrupted only by the occasional clang of metal or a low murmur as Cassidy pointed out anomalies. Connor explained repair logs that didn't match invoices, or Chaffin reviewed footage from the cameras, noting subtle distortions or movements that could indicate tampering or unauthorized access. Mike observed them all, mentally cataloging their efforts and wondering if the intruder had anticipated this level of coordination, because from the start, it had been clear they were not dealing with a casual stalker or collector, but someone who understood the stakes and the methods of Rust Valley itself. By late afternoon, Mike decided to venture toward the perimeter of the yard, retracing the previous day's footprints and checking for additional evidence. Because he had learned early on that understanding the opponent meant studying the space they moved through as much as the objects they touched. The frost had melted into soft mud, but depressions and subtle indentations revealed a clear pattern. Someone had been mapping the yard with deliberate intent, testing the team's reactions, learning. The boundaries, and Mike could feel the invisible calculations of the intruder pressing down on him as he followed the trail along the rows of classic cars and half-finished restorations. Near the back fence, he discovered another clue, a small scrap of black fabric, partially buried beneath gravel, its texture identical to the piece found days earlier, reinforcing the fact that whoever had been here before was returning, studying, and leaving traces not out of carelessness, but as a form of communication, perhaps signaling a next step in a larger plan he couldn't yet comprehend. Returning to the shop, Mike called the team together and laid out the progression of events, emphasizing the need for heightened vigilance and the importance of documenting every anomaly, every unusual sound, every irregular movement. The crew listened, silent but attentive, the weight of the task settling over them. And even as they returned to their work, there was a subtle shift in the energy of the shop, a quiet determination, a shared understanding that they were no longer just restoring cars, but defending their territory, protecting the history and legacy embedded in Rust Valley from an unseen but calculated threat. The evening shadows lengthened across the yard, stretching between the vehicles like silent sentinels, and Mike found himself drawn to the Chevy Nova frame that had been sitting untouched for weeks. He ran a hand over the metal, thinking back to the first envelope, the messages and the stolen or vanished vehicles from past trades, realizing that the intruder strategy was not only to threaten him in the present, but to manipulate him into uncovering information from the past, to piece together a story that had remained hidden until now. And he understood that the key to ending this game lay in solving that puzzle before the adversary acted again. As darkness fell, he instructed Connor and Cassidy to maintain a rotation, keeping watch in pairs throughout the night, while Chaffin monitored the cameras and updated software to prevent remote tampering, a careful system of checks designed to make intrusion visible as soon as it occurred. Even with these measures, the tension remained, an invisible current running through the yard, threading together the crates, vehicles, and tools into a landscape of heightened awareness. At the stroke of midnight, when the valley was quiet save for the occasional rustle of trees in the wind, Mike stepped outside to inspect the cameras himself, scanning the edges of the yard where the intruder had been seen, where the black SUV had appeared, and where the drone had hovered. Every shadow seemed amplified, every movement exaggerated, and though he saw nothing, he could feel the presence, the knowledge that someone was watching, waiting, perhaps just beyond sight, and that awareness sharpened his focus rather than diminishing it. Returning to the shop, he found another envelope on the main workbench. No note inside this time. Only a single photograph depicting a partially completed Pontiac from years ago, its frame stripped and suspended in the shop exactly as he had left it, accompanied by a scrawled annotation on the back. Time is running faster than you think. The message was vague but potent, a reminder of urgency, of the stakes, and Mike felt the weight of every decision he had made since the first envelope, every moment of inaction, and every mystery that had remained unsolved, and he realized that the intruder was not only challenging him physically, by infiltrating the yard and observing their routines, but mentally, testing his ability to recall, connect, and predict, forcing him to confront the past in order to protect the future. He called the team together one final time before the night ended, laying out a plan to document every anomaly, cross-reference old trade records, and maintain constant surveillance, a strategy not just for defense, but for understanding, because he knew that whoever had chosen Rust Valley as a target was patient, methodical, and dangerous, and the only way to survive and to preserve the yard and its legacy was to anticipate the next move before it could happen. And Mike Hall, protector of Rust Valley, was determined not to fail. Dawn broke over Rust Valley with an almost cinematic clarity, the sun casting long beams across the yard that glinted off dusty car frames and half-finished restorations, and Mike stood outside the shop, surveying the rows of vehicles with a sense of both anticipation and resolve, knowing that today might be the day the intruder would act again, but also understanding that he and his crew had spent the past days preparing, observing, documenting, and anticipating every possible move, turning. their once chaotic yard into a meticulously watched fortress where every footstep, shadow, and unexpected sound could be traced, recorded, and analyzed. He felt the weight of the envelopes in his pocket, the photographs, the notes, the warnings, all converging into a single focus. Uncover the truth behind the intrusion, protect the legacy of Rust Valley, and safeguard the people who had become more than co-workers, more than friends. They were family. Connor arrived first, his expression determined, carrying the latest camera footage on a portable drive, and together they reviewed it in the office, fast-forwarding, slowing, and pausing on subtle anomalies. The faint glint of a black SUV in the distance, a flash of movement near the fence, shadows that didn't belong to anyone on the team. Each frame adding weight to the invisible puzzle they were piecing together, and each anomaly reinforcing the certainty that someone with knowledge, patience, and intent was orchestrating events from afar, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Cassidy joined them with a stack of trade records, auction invoices, and old ledgers, each document meticulously cross-referenced against the patterns they had observed, highlighting trades that involved rare vehicles, chassis that had disappeared under mysterious circumstances, and unusual correspondence with anonymous buyers, all of which formed a timeline pointing toward a single conclusion. Someone was following Rust Valley's history as closely as Mike and his team, learning their habits, anticipating their reactions, and leveraging decades of knowledge to extract what they sought. As the morning sun rose higher, illuminating the yard, Shafin called out from the far side of the shop, reporting movement near the back fence. Mike and Connor stepped outside, hearts racing, scanning the perimeter with binoculars, but saw nothing at first until a subtle shift in the tree caught Mike's eye. A shadow, fleeting but deliberate, retreating into the underbrush, and in that instant, all the pieces clicked into place. The footprints, the fob, the drone, the SUV, the envelopes, the emblem, the photographs, and the cryptic messages had been a carefully laid breadcrumb trail designed to test, manipulate, and observe him, forcing him to uncover the history that had long been hidden while preparing him to face whoever had orchestrated this relentless pursuit. Recognizing the pattern, Mike mobilized the team with precision, instructing Connor to secure the vehicles and set up physical barriers along vulnerable points, Cassidy to organize critical documentation and create backup copies of every file, and Shafin to monitor cameras and network sensors with real-time alerts, transforming Rust Valley into a living system of defense and observation. Hours passed as the day progressed, the team moving with focused efficiency, responding to subtle cues, documenting anomalies, and reinforcing both the yard and their own confidence. Mike felt a surge of pride as he watched them adapt, improvise, and collaborate seamlessly, their combined knowledge, skill, and loyalty proving that the intruder might have underestimated the human factor, the dedication, intuition, and resilience that had built Rust Valley from nothing. Then, as late afternoon approached, a familiar engine growl echoed through the trees, the same low, deliberate tone Mike had heard before. And this time, the black SUV appeared again, cautiously moving along the edge of the yard, its tinted windows reflecting sunlight, a silent reminder that the hunter had arrived, but that he was ready. Mike stepped forward, his boots crunching against gravel, eyes fixed on the vehicle. And though the adrenaline surged, his mind remained calm, analytical, mapping possible approaches, considering contingencies, and preparing the team to respond without panic. The SUV halted just beyond the tree line, and after a tense pause, a figure emerged, tall, confident, moving with precision, and Mike's gaze locked on them. Recognizing the deliberate markings the emblem carried earlier, the same calculated intent that had shadowed Rust Valley for days. For a long moment, silence hung in the valley, broken only by the rustle of trees and the distant hum of vehicles. Then Mike spoke, steady and firm, addressing both the intruder and his team. He would not be intimidated, he would not yield, and Rust Valley would remain a place of history, restoration, and loyalty. The figure paused, as if measuring his words, then retreated slightly, acknowledging the determination before them. And Mike felt the culmination of days of tension preparation, and investigation crystallize into clarity. The challenge was no longer just about protecting cars or documents, but about asserting control over his legacy, his yard, and the future he had built with his team. As the sun dipped below the ridge, casting the yard in a warm, golden glow, Mike walked among the vehicles, checking each frame, each restoration, each tool, and felt an overwhelming sense of triumph mixed with vigilance. He knew the intruder could return, that the challenge was not yet over, but Rust Valley had proven itself resilient, fortified not only by walls and cameras, but by the ingenuity, loyalty, and determination of the people who breathed life into it every day. That evening, as the shop lights flickered on and the valley settled into calm, Mike stood outside, looking across the rows of classic cars, feeling the crisp night air, and whispered a quiet promise to the land, to the team, and to himself. Rust Valley would endure, secrets would be protected, history would be preserved, and no envelope, no shadow, no intruder would ever take from them what they had built together, because some things, like loyalty, skill, and the heart of a restoration yard, could never be stolen. And in that certainty, Mike found a rare and satisfying peace, knowing that for today, at least, he and his crew had triumphed over the unseen, and Rust Valley would continue to thrive under their unwavering vigilance and care.